Picasso once said, good artists copy, great artists steal. This is one of Steve Jobs' favorite quotes. And Steve Jobs once said, we have always been shameless about stealing great ideas. So wait a minute, is it a good or bad thing to steal great ideas and being a great copycat? Because I hear some people say sometimes, you know, that guy copied my idea. That was my idea. I came up with this. Listen, worry when nobody's copying what you're doing because no one's paying attention to you. It is a very, very, very big compliment when somebody copies you. So let's talk about this copycat. Wait a minute, this is kind of confusing. Are we really doing a video on copycats? Yes, we are. Let's talk a little bit of history. I think you're going to enjoy this part about history. Let's talk a little bit about history. Here we go. So one of the greatest players that just recently retired, Kobe Bryant, who scored 61 points in his last game, is known as a copycat. Everybody, his critics would say what? He copied everything from who? Michael Jordan. Now, Michael Jordan, you know, gets a lot of credit. He won 6 championships out of 6 times, and, you know, so many times he was a scoring champion, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Did he copy anybody? Well, Michael Jordan copied Dr. J, Julius Erving, from the 76ers. Well, did he and Dr. J copy anybody else? David Thompson. And if you look at the highlights from David Thompson, you will say, wait a minute, that's Julius Erving, that's Mike. Hang on a second. They've been copying each other this entire time. Unbelievable. What a bunch of copycats. What a bunch of copycats. By the way, the great ones are experts at this. Now let me continue a little bit more. Okay, this next one's going to completely flip you out. You ready? So I have a smartphone here I'm holding, right? Who invented the smartphone? Most of us will say what? Oh, it's Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs gets all the credit for smartphone. Is he really? Is he really? Did he really invent the smartphone? Did he really invent the smartphone? I'm curious, who do you think invented the smartphone? What is your answer? I'll give you a second here. Who do you think invented the smartphone? Did you just say BlackBerry? Did you say Nextel? Did you maybe say, you know, some of these other phones that were coming out? Who did you see as a smartphone? Watch this here. 15 years earlier, IBM came out with a smartphone. It was called the Simon Personal Communicator, is what it was called, by IBM. 15 years earlier, they came out with the smartphone. Now, did IBM come out with the smartphone? Did they invent the smartphone? Are they the first ones that came out with the smartphone? No. There was an inventor from Greece who came out with the technology and the invention that he patented, first person to do it. His name was Theodore, last name is a tough one, Paraskevakos. You got to study this. Out of Greece, he was working for Boeing. He came out with this invention, he got it patented, but Boeing didn't do much with it. Till today, he holds the invention, it's with him, it's his invention on what he did. But did he come out with the smartphone idea? No. Back in 1909, Nikola Tesla, who, you know, Elon Musk admires tremendously, who the car is named Tesla after Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla is the first one in 1909 to write out the entire programming and saying it would be great if we could combine a telephone with a computer. Nikola Tesla is the first person to come out with the idea of a smartphone that was then patented by Theodore in Greece, who worked for Boeing, but Theodore was just an inventor. He wasn't a big thinker. Then IBM took that idea and they moved too slow. Terrible marketers, too big, so you know how big companies move, very slow. Then a visionary came in, a big thinker said, I am Steve Jobs. We have a cool company. We are better designers. We're going to introduce the smartphone, and we're going to sell billions of these things, and we're going to make people buy brand spanking new one every 6 to 12 months. And this product alone is going to help us end up being a $600, $700, $800 billion company, depending on when you watch this video. Why? Because Steve Jobs was one of the greatest copycats of all time. And the credit doesn't go for his ability to being a copycat. All of us, you watching this, we're all copycats. There isn't a single soul that's not a copycat. Well, you may say, I'm not a copycat. Really, why do you wear clothes? Why do you wear clothes? Is it like, did you wake up saying, I want to wear clothes today? You're a copycat. We wear clothes because other people wear clothes. Why don't you walk around naked? If you really are not a copycat, you'd walk around with no clothes on. We're copycats. Why do we get our haircuts like this? Why don't we do our haircuts like completely? Why do we do certain things the way we want? How come we don't shave our eyebrows? How come we? Because we are copycats. There's certain things that we're copycats. There's nothing wrong with being a copycat. Here's the challenge. Unfortunately, most copycats are small thinkers. See, Jobs was a big thinking copycat. Big thinking copycat. Shameless about stealing the idea. Samsung stole their idea. They got sued for a couple $2 billion, but they still stole the idea, and Samsung is now Samsung. You know, the Galaxy S7 or whatever people talk about, they also stole ideas, right? This continues. Now, is there really a formula for copycats? I think the best book on copycats is Blue Ocean Strategy. Let me tell you about the Blue Ocean Strategy. I've recommended this book to so many different people. And sometimes people say, oh, it was a very boring book. I did not like it. 2 million people have bought this book, 2 million copies sold. And it's probably one of the best stories on copycats. Why? Because it explains to you 4 different things to becoming an original. This is another book that I just finished recently. Phenomenal book that has to do with this message, because it explains which originals were never originals, but we think they were originals. It's a phenomenal way Adam Grant tells the story. But let's go back to Blue Ocean Strategy, because this tells you the step-by-step. This one's telling you a lot of the story. It's got step-by-step at the end as well, okay? So what do they talk about in Blue Ocean Strategy? It's a very simple formula he talks about in this book. Very simple. He says you got 4 brackets, okay? If we can put an image up in this area, you got 4 brackets that you're looking at when thinking about creating a unique product. 1, you got to take your company, your product, whatever you're doing, and figure out ways what you can eliminate. For instance, if competition likes to sell 28 different products, maybe you're going to eliminate and come down to 3 different products. McDonald's has 40 different products on their menu. In-N-Out says we're going to do 3, okay? And we're going to eliminate such and such, and we're not going to sell salad, and we're not going to do this. We're going to eliminate salads, okay? So that's eliminate. You eliminate with your product. 2, it talks about reduce. What can you reduce? What can you lower? What can you minimize? Let's reduce the size of the menu. Let's reduce the amount of options. Let's reduce how technical this thing is. Let's minimize and get rid of some things that we don't need to have to make it more complex. Number 2. The third thing is you raise. What can you elevate? Can you elevate marketing? Can you elevate creativity? Can you elevate delivery? Can you elevate customer service? What can you make better? Then the last one is create. What thing can you create that your competitors are not doing? What can you create that your competitors are not doing? That gives you the edge of making it unique, right? That's a very simple formula that anybody can use to help you become a great copycat. But remember, on the creation part, there are some things that you got to know about why we have a certain level of affinity with a Steve Jobs or a Jordan or a Kobe or whoever one of these guys that we're talking about. Because what makes you an original, what makes you a great, and eventually you end up becoming the one that everybody looks at, that makes a big difference, is your personal stories, your personal failures, your personal philosophies. That's the signature that you're adding to the world. Those are your domain. That's what makes you authentic. That's what makes you you. But the formula on how to become a copycat is a very simple formula. There's a lot of guys that are doing it much better than you. Who do you copy yourself? Who do you watch yourself? Who's somebody that's doing it much better than you? Is there some people that you're watching? Because some people are not worth copying. You got to realize a lot of people copy the wrong type of people. 95% of the world is a copycat of the wrong cat that they're copying. That is a very big problem. In business, you got to ask yourself who you're copying. Are you copying somebody even worth copying? Who's a list of people that you secretly admire that nobody else knows that you follow? Some people are public about it. But who are some of the people that you secretly admire and you say, I love his approach that he does this. I love how he does that. I love the fact that he's authentic in this. I love the fact that they do this. What can I do to make it better? How can I make that better? How can I add a twist to it from my own? What stories can I add with it? Half the business books, if you look at the business books, the foundation is all what? Same thing. Why do we buy it? Why do we connect with certain books and not other books? Stories. Stories. Half the books you buy, they're very similar. Half the books, half love stories, what are they about? She had a man. He didn't treat him well. She met a new one. He was amazing. They fell in love. They've been married for 62 years. Oh my gosh. She was dating a man. He didn't appreciate her. He cared more about the cars. He cared more about sports. She had his best friend was paying attention to her. One day, he's not doing well. They spend lunch together. She realizes the person she loves is the friend. Oh my gosh. All of a sudden, he's Italian, she's Mexican. They realize they have certain connections together. Their parents love each other. They've been married now for 42 years. And then there was a breakup. He loses it. He dies. Then she goes back to, it's like, it's the same old. But oh my gosh, this is so amazing. It's a love, it's the same exact thing with a couple different twists to it. You just got to realize, with the 80 years you got in your life, 79 years you got in this world living, 1, who do you copy? 2, what areas do you copy? 3, how big do you think to make that become your original, where you make the biggest impact with that one little thing or 2 little things that you copied in your life. So this was one of my favorite episodes that I wanted to do. I really had a lot of fun just reading and going through the notes myself. So if you got any questions, comment on the bottom. You got any thoughts, comment on the bottom. I actually personally respond myself. It's typically at midnight, but I do respond myself to the comments. And by the way, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do so. Our goal is 100,000 by August 31st. We need as many people to help us get to 100,000 subscribers by August 31st. You will hear about something major that I'll be launching here between now and then with a new product. And if you're watching this video on a complete different website, you can always go back to patrickbaydavid.com. Give me the ringtone. There you go, baby. You can always go to patrickbaydavid.com. There's a bunch of other content there for entrepreneurship. And subscribe to the newsletter as well to stay connected with us. Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.